The room felt settled. A Democratic lawmaker had just finished speaking with confidence, the kind that suggests the argument is already over. He spoke about accountability, about receipts, about standing with law enforcement. He insisted he had never supported cutting police funding, never supported defunding the police. Not once. The message was clear. We are on the right side of this. He turned his attention to Republicans, accusing them of hypocrisy. He focused on a witness invited to a previous hearing, someone who had posted an offensive comment about police officers. He argued that silence was complicity, that failing to disavow meant endorsement. The tone was firm, moral, assured in that moment. It sounded convincing. Then the floor shifted when Andy Biggs stood up. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He didn't interrupt. He thanked the speaker calmly and made a simple observation. There appeared to be some backpedaling happening. Then he issued a warning. Almost casually, people should be careful, he said. They might fall over backwards. Instead of arguing words, he chose something else. Proof. He announced that a video would be played. Not commentary, not interpretation. Just footage. And that's when the energy in the room changed. The screen lit up, and one by one, familiar faces appeared, political figures known nationwide. These weren't anonymous activists or fringe voices. These were elected officials speaking in their own words. At a time when defunding the police was politically fashionable, the first clips rolled. Statements calling for police budgets to be cut. Statements praising the removal of hundreds of millions from law enforcement. Statements arguing that police departments should be dismantled entirely. There was no narration needed, no framing required. The words were clear. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti spoke about pulling $150 million from policing. That decision was applauded by others in his party. Then came Ilhan Omar, arguing openly that the Minneapolis Police Department should be dismantled, not reformed, not improved, but replaced. She made it explicit. More officers did not automatically mean safer communities. Then more clips followed. New York officials discussing reallocating police funding. Statements supporting the defund movement directly. No ambiguity. No hedging. At one point, Eric Swalwell appeared, stating plainly that police funding would be reduced and redirected elsewhere. Then came Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Her clip didn't argue against defunding the police. It criticized proposed cuts for not going far enough. The reductions, she said, were insufficient. The push to defund should continue. That moment landed hard because it wasn't denial. It wasn't nuance. It was dissatisfaction that police budgets hadn't been cut deeply enough. The video continued, stacking clip after clip. Different cities. Different officials. Same message. Defund, defundi, dismantle, redirect. By the time the screen went dark, the argument in the room had evaporated. Minutes earlier, there had been claims of moral clarity, assertions of consistency, accusations of hypocrisy directed outward. Now, there was silence. No one disputed the authenticity of the footage. No one claimed the clips were manipulated. No one argued they were taken out of context, because they weren't. These were full statements, recorded when the political winds were blowing a different direction. The power of the moment wasn't anger. It was an inevitability. You can argue opinions, you can debate policy, but you can't debate recordings. Words spoken on camera don't change just because public sentiment does. And in that room, the contrast was undeniable. What had just been said and what had once been said didn't match. After the video ended, there was no dramatic outburst, no shouting, no counter-dash video, no lengthy rebuttal. That alone said everything. When evidence is overwhelming, noise disappears. A response eventually came. One Democrat acknowledged that the offensive tweet about police officers was wrong and said the witness might not have been invited if they had known. It was a partial concession, but it came too late. Because the issue was no longer about a tweet, it was about credibility. What made the moment powerful wasn't that anyone was embarrassed. It was that the narrative collapsed in real time. The claim had been simple. We never supported defunding the police, the record said. Otherwise, and records don't argue. They wait. This is why footage matters more than speeches. Why archives matter. More than press releases, why accountability doesn't come from promises. It comes from memory. Political positions change all the time. That's not unusual. Public pressure shifts. Polls move. Strategies adapt. But what voters rarely forget is being told something that later proves untrue. The clips shown weren't ancient history. They weren't obscure remarks pulled from decades ago. They were recent, clear, and enthusiastic endorsements of policies that were now being disowned. That's the danger of rewriting history in the digital age, because cameras don't forget, and the internet doesn't erase. What made Andy Biggs's approach effective wasn't aggression. It was restraint. He didn't accuse anyone of lying. He didn't demand apologies. He didn't raise his voice. He pressed play. That was enough. The contrast did the work for him. This is why accountability moments resonate with audiences. Not because people enjoy humiliation, but because they crave consistency. Voters don't expect perfection. They expect honesty. If positions change, explain why. If opinions evolve, acknowledge it. What erodes trust is pretending the past never happened. The hearing became a case study in how fast confidence can collapse when confronted with documentation. Just minutes earlier, the tone had been authoritative, declarative, certain. After the video, it was procedural, defensive, minimal. That shift is what viewers remember, not the speeches, not the accusations. The silence in modern politics. Silence. After evidence speaks louder than outrage before it, this moment also revealed something broader. Not about one party or another, but about power. Dynamics in public discourse. Narratives survive as long as they go unchallenged. Once challenged, with proof. They either adapt or disappear, and this one disappeared. The video didn't tell people what to think. It didn't label anyone a villain. It didn't editorialize. It simply reminded everyone of something uncomfortable. Positions once held don't vanish just because they're inconvenient later. That's the risk of speaking boldly. When cameras are rolling, every statement becomes part of the permanent record. Years from now, strategies may change again. Messaging may shift again. Priorities may evolve, but the footage will still exist. Waiting, because in politics, reputations aren't just built on what leaders say today, but on whether today matches yesterday and when it doesn't. All it takes is one video to remind people politics may change, but recordings do not.